evening and welcome to a program devoted entirely to Lefties Losing It. And we're going to start at a place, a sad, miserable place that we have visited many times before, many times, and that is inside the head of Rosie O'Donnell. Driven mad, quite mad with Trump derangement syndrome, that she has now infected her daughter. Her poor 12-year-old autistic non-binary daughter is also raging about Donald Trump.
I'll tell you the truth. My daughter is now saying, damn him, damn Trump, and smashing her hand on the table. And I said, wow, honey, what are you thinking? And she said, he made us move in order for our own safety. And it's now he's destroying the country. You know, listen.
Wow.
Wow, indeed. Jim Acosta, by the way, he's on the left of the screen, I think. It's hard to tell those two apart. Jim seems impressed by Rosie making her own child miserable with anxiety and doomsday rhetoric. Even Rosie knows her daughter thinking like this isn't healthy.
I think to myself, you don't want to give this to her. You know, whatever this thing is of me thinking that I have to somehow stand in defiance of him. No, I don't. Somebody can tap me out, you know. I did 22 years. I don't really need to do anymore. And I don't want my kid to be so affected by it. And, you know, she has autism.
But she recognizes what's going on.
Yes.
No, she doesn't recognise what's going on, Jim Acosta, you absolute delusional clown. That poor child is miserable because of people like you and her mother who have filled her head with nonsense. Talking about misery and nonsense, remember Dave Letterman, the former late-night TV host who kind of looks like the Unabomber these days? Well, here is the man who famously took his mistress on a family vacation with his wife and a young child. Just imagine what sort of human you have to be to do something like that. Well, here's our moral, noble crusader, Dave, having a meltdown because Donald Trump called a reporter piggy. Quite piggy.
Just a wonder of idiocy. It's just fantastic. It knows no bounds.
None.
No, and it's never ending. He's our dictator.
Yeah,
he's not going anywhere.
Now watch as even the Karens there try to wrap up this asinine chat. Dave rants about how Donald Trump's accomplishments are the worst thing humanly imaginable. The dude needs help.
It's fraudulent, as is everything about the regime.
Exactly. The regime is right.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I have to go.
Things happen. Just remember, hey, Piggy, things happen.
Things happen.
Good God.
Don't forget to subscribe and
it's
love
like
us.
18 times the worst behavior one has witnessed ever anywhere.
Yeah, and everyone
worse.
seems fine
Think
with
of
it.
the worst thing that you've ever seen humans accomplish. This is so much worse.
Now, if Dave Letterman is that triggered by the word piggy, then imagine the meltdown when he realises that Donald Trump referred to Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as, and I quote, seriously retarded. CNN was certainly appalled. Funny how they never get appalled when Republicans are routinely called Nazis and fascists and white supremacists. But don't go insulting the uniquely awful Tim Walz. Here is CNN asking Democrat Senator Amy Klobuchar about the president's comments.
Something else that the president said. He said that Congresswoman Ilhan Omar probably came to the U.S. illegally, mocked the hijab that she wears, and he called your governor, quote, retarded.
These words shouldn't even be repeated by anyone, much less a president of the United States. Again, he goes after people because they look different than him.
Really? He attacked Tim Walz because he looks different than him? It's not that he is a far-left inept governor who earned his nickname Tampon Tim because he put tampons in boys' locker rooms across the state. Not because he's so hopeless that hundreds of Minnesota Department of Human Resources employees accused him of failing to act on widespread fraud and punishing whistleblowers. And when the president was asked earlier today if he regretted his characterisation of Governor Walz as seriously retarded, he had this to say. See if you can detect any regret.
Do you stand stand by that claim of calling Tim Walz retarded?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with him. Absolutely, sure.
You don't think that...
You have a problem with him? You know what? I think there's something wrong with him. Anybody that would do what he did, anybody that would allow those people into his state and pay billions of dollars out to Somalia. We give billions of dollars to Somalia. It's not even a country because it doesn't function like a country. It's got a name, but it doesn't function like a country. Yeah, there's something wrong with Walz.
I don't know about you, but he doesn't seem sorry to me. Let's go back to CNN and a fiery debate that has gone viral. Clips of this all over social media. And it involves Katie Miller, a Republican political advisor and wife of Stephen Miller, taking on the hopelessly biased hard-left host, Abby Phillip, who pretends to be a moderate, just a neutral host. You ain't fooling anybody, Abby, least of all Katie Miller.
It's about whether someone like Tucker Carlson, who is a very powerful force in the conservative movement.
You host people on your show all the time who call my husband and myself a Nazi.
That is a different thing.
Excuse me, you have Jennifer Welch on your show very often, and you've never pushed back as she has called my husband a white nationalist. That is no different than Nick Fuentes going on Tucker Carlson's show. It's not, and you should admit it.
Well, hold on. How is it anything similar? It's not remotely similar at all. Nick Fuentes sits around and says that he likes Hitler. How is that similar
What does Katie have to do with it? What does she have to do with it? She has nothing to do with it.
Indeed, Abby, Katie Miller has nothing to do with it. And you have not only allowed the likes of the irredeemably awful Jennifer Welch to appear on your program and spew the most hateful rhetoric imaginable without any pushback, might I add, but you have gone on her podcast. You even went on Joy Reid's podcast and agreed with her insane ramblings. Don't pretend you hold yourself to a high standard. You certainly do not. Now to a poll that didn't get as much attention as it perhaps deserved. It certainly created a lot of online chatter. It was the annual Economist YouGov poll, and it showed support for same-sex marriage has plummeted to 54%. We've now got 33% saying they don't think same-sex marriage should be legal and 13% unsure. Compare that to just a few years ago when polls showed that 70% of Americans supported same-sex marriage. What's behind this drop in support? Well, the lefties are blaming Donald Trump, but our good friend Link Lauren has a more astute explanation.
So the short answer for why support for same-sex marriage has gone down is because us normal gays, us common sense gays, are unfortunately becoming guilty by association, okay? We're being lumped in with all the LGBTQIA R2D2 crap, okay? The most fringe and obscene corners of the LGBT agenda, they're the ones that get the most attention online and on television, and unfortunately, those of us who are normal and don't make being gay our entire personality, we are getting lumped in.
If you're a Lefties Losing It fan in America and your debt, fees and calls are piling up monthly, it's time to fight back. PDS Debt has helped hundreds of thousands cut debt and put money back in their pockets, not the banks. Whether you're struggling with credit cards, personal loans or medical bills, PDS Debt offers custom options to help you get out of debt. They go beyond the numbers to understand your financial situation and craft a personalised plan designed for you. With no minimum credit score required, they're here to help you save more. Pay off debt faster and start putting money back where it belongs, in your pocket. PDS Debt is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, boasts thousands of 5-star reviews on Google, and holds a 5-star rating on Trustpilot. Why? Because PDS has helped hundreds of thousands of people get out of debt. Every month you wait costs more in interest and fees. The best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is right now. If I had needed this product, it's what I would have used. Don't wait another month. Take back control in 30 seconds. Get your free personalised assessment and the best option for you at pdsdebt.com/Rita. pdsdebt.com/Rita. I'm going to say it one more time. pdsdebt.com/Rita. Here's Sweden's worst export global warming doom goblin, Greta Thunberg, causing more trouble in Italy. She's already got herself banned from Venice for dyeing the main canal green to protest the weather. Now she's pivoted back to her side hustle, Palestine. Let's look at her dancing with UN tax drain Francesca Albanese. Don't know about you, but talk about genocide doesn't normally have me dancing in the streets.
Genocide in Palestine is still ongoing. I repeat, the genocide in Palestine is still ongoing.
What a pack of weirdos. Now, we already have the seditious six, the Democrats who told members of the military to disobey so-called illegal orders, though they couldn't name any. Now we can say that we have a seditious 10 because the View co-hosts have jumped on board the treason train. Here they are suggesting orders given to members of the military may be illegal, and they're calling on US servicemen and women to perhaps break the chain of command.
Okay, enough is enough.
Well, I know this is why those Democratic vets put out that video last week that people said, why would they need to say what's already obvious, that, you know, military personnel, they don't need to, they can refuse to act on an illegal order. And people were like, yeah, but there's nothing like that. Well, this is a situation where there were clearly in the cameras 2 men on like parts of the explosion, and then they're killed. So the likelihood of this is, it's not a war. We're not at war with Venezuela, but it's murder. It's flat out murder. And anyone that acted on those orders could be held on war crimes. Am I?
Yeah. War crimes for killing narcotics traffickers, bringing drugs into America that will kill thousands? Really? Now, watch as Ana Navarro claims that the Trump administration isn't targeting these narco boats because of its war on deadly drugs. What's her theory?
Donald Trump is trying to convince Americans that this is about fighting drugs, and this is because Maduro released crazy people, opened up the jails and the insane asylums and sent people here. That second part is flat out lies. There is no evidence of that. On the drug aspect, very little of the drugs that go through Venezuela actually come to the United States.
Yeah, great analysis there, Anna. And for the last time, your opinions and weird fever dreams are not facts. Time to check in on trans activist Lily Tino defending his behaviour in a women's bathroom where he took photos of women in what should have been a private, female-only area.
Took those photos with a very clear goal in mind, which was to show a non-passing trans woman existing peacefully in a bathroom. How do you change people's minds? That's why I posted the pictures, right? Like, yes, I knew it was going to be shocking. Like, I knew. I wasn't just trying to make people mad. I was trying to expose them to something that over time I want to be normal. I don't want to have to walk into a bathroom and feel afraid.
He knew precisely what he was doing, and he got the attention he so desperately craves. Now, we know Christmas is fast approaching and the White House is looking glorious. This year, First Lady Melania Trump oversaw the Christmas decorations. See if you can detect the subtle difference between Melania and Jill Biden's work. First, let's have a gander at what Christmas or the holiday season was like at the White House under the Biden administration. Remember this? I think we've had enough of that weirdness. We've had our quota for weird today. Let's have a look at this year's White House Christmas decorations under the guidance of Melania Trump. Just a subtle difference, barely noticeable. Now it's time for a stroll down memory lane and watch here as Margaret Brennan from CBS claimed that Afghan asylum seekers were all properly vetted, even as JD Vance gives her examples and tries to explain to her why prioritising the safety of Americans should be the top priority. I have to say that interview made Margaret Brennan look pretty terrible at the time. After what happened in DC last week, it makes her look even worse.
You said, I don't think we should abandon anybody who's been properly vetted and helped us. Do you stand by that?
Well, Margaret, I don't agree that all these immigrants or all these refugees have been properly vetted. In fact, we know that there are cases of people who allegedly were properly vetted and then were literally planning terrorist attacks on our country. That happened during the campaign, if you may remember. So clearly not all of these foreign nationals have been properly vetted.
But there are 30,000 people in the pipeline, Afghan refugees.
But my primary concern as the vice president, Margaret, is to look after the American people. And now that we know that we have vetting problems with a lot of these refugee programs, we absolutely cannot unleash thousands of unvetted people into our country.
These people are vetted. These people are vetted.
Just like the guy who planned a terrorist attack in Oklahoma a few months ago, he was allegedly properly vetted, and many people in the media and the Democratic Party said that he was properly vetted. Clearly he wasn't. I don't want my children to share a neighborhood with people who are not properly vetted, and because I don't want it for my kids, I'm not going to force any other American citizens' kids to do that either.
No, and that was a very particular case. It wasn't clear if he was radicalized when he got here or while he was living here.
I don't really care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country.
If you're a homeowner in America, you need to listen to this. The FBI has been warning about a type of real estate fraud on the rise called title theft, and your equity is the target. Here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on a single document, use a fake notary stamp and file it with the county. And just like that, on record, they own your home. Using your ownership, they can take out loans against your equity or even sell your property. And you won't know about it until foreclosure or collection notices show up in the mail. That's why I've partnered with Home Title Lock so you can protect your equity and find out today if you're already a victim. Use my promo code Rita at hometitlelock.com and you'll get a free title history report and a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title records, urgent alerts to any changes, and if fraud occurs, their US-based restoration team will spend up to $1 million to fix it. Don't be a victim. Protect your equity today. That's hometitlelock.com, promo code Rita, or use the link below. Time to check in on the lunatic asylum masquerading as a news network. MSNBC is calling itself MS Now these days, but it's still just as dishonest and delusional. Here they feature a woman called Megan Hayes, who goes on some wild rant about Donald Trump suffering cognitive decline and aging rapidly. Let's have a listen, and then I have an absolute doozy for you.
That this is a real concern that he falls asleep during press conferences, and who is making these decisions. It seemed the last person in his ear makes the final decisions, or testing that they're doing in focus groups of what targets the most hate is what he seems to say out loud, regardless if it has anything to do with the actual policy at hand. So, I think that the American people are starting to see more of this, and I think that this will come to fruition in the midterms.
Yeah, the man who functions on just 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night, the one who members of the media, including TDS-afflicted CNN reporters, say they cannot keep up with, he's the one suffering cognitive decline. How stupid do they think the American people are? Well, the fact that they would have this woman, Megan Hayes, pushing this propaganda tells you just how stupid MSNBC or MS Now think their audience is. Because Megan Hayes, who you just saw, is the same one who was in this bunny suit. Yes, she's the former White House staffer dressed in an Easter bunny costume who intervened to save President Biden from embarrassing himself by wandering off in the wrong direction or trying to answer journalists' questions. Yes, that actually happened. They had a staffer in a bunny suit handling the president, and that same staffer is now on MS Now defaming President Trump. And it's not just her. MS Now also had this doctor on who a year ago was telling us how sharp Joe Biden was. Apparently Biden was in excellent shape and robust. That must be why the Democrats dumped him. And this doctor now claims Donald Trump is tired, incoherent and slow. These people exist in a parallel universe or they're liars. You decide.
Cardiovascularly, he's in excellent shape. I'm a pulmonologist. I see this all the time in octogenarians. I think he's actually quite high functioning as an octogenarian and keeping up that schedule.
But it's clear that there's age-related cognitive decline. I mean, that's obvious. His response to somebody fainting in the Oval Office really conveyed that. He didn't show any signs of concern. He didn't really do anything. He was slow to respond. And that slowness and fatigue you're seeing more and more in his public events. So that's one. Two, he's confused a lot. Three, he sometimes mumbles sort of incoherent nonsense when he's asked a question in the press pool in the Oval Office.
I wonder why trust in the media has plummeted to record lows. It's a mystery. Now let's have a laugh at Kamala lovers. They gathered in Nashville on the weekend to hear from the failed presidential candidate. And these people still believe Kamala Harris was robbed, that she should be president.
She's the best qualified out there.
What makes her so qualified?
Oh gosh, that's a hard one.
A lot of, drawing a blank here. What was her biggest accomplishment as VP?
She really made a difference at the borders. She stopped people from coming into the country illegally.
She did what now? She stopped people coming into the country illegally? Is that what you said, lady? She was the border czar who oversaw millions come in illegally every year, more than 2 million a year. Record numbers. Complete crisis at the border for years. Surely that's the dumbest thing that woman is going to say, surely.
Why do you think Kamala lost the election?
I think there was cheating.
Okay, yeah, we hit rock bottom. The democracy deniers are making me feel unsafe, folks. Let's go back to Nashville one last time and see if one of these Kamala lovers is able to name anything she did that made America better.
Let's see, what was her biggest accomplishment? She was able to inspire a lot of females.
What was her biggest accomplishment as VP?
Now, pop star Sabrina Carpenter had a little tanty because one of her songs was used in an ICE video. Let's have a look at that video.
Have you ever tried this one? Have you ever tried this one? Have you ever tried this one?
She posted, "This video is evil and disgusting. Do not ever involve me or my music to benefit your inhumane agenda." And the White House didn't take that lying down. Here is the response from Deputy Press Secretary Abigail Jackson. She said, "Here's a short and sweet message for Sabrina Carpenter. We won't apologise for deporting dangerous criminal illegals, murderers, rapists and pedophiles from our country. Anyone who would defend these sick monsters must be stupid, or is it slow?" Portland has been called the most socialist city in the US. It has a reputation as a place full of hard left lunatics. I can't imagine why. It's not like these lefties get together and just scream into the void once a week. To New York now, and here is United Methodist Church pastor Phil Phaneuf using a sermon to announce he is transitioning.
The best way to put this is that I'm not becoming a woman, I'm giving up pretending to be a man. Know that clothes are just fibers, they do not carry an anatomy with them. So to say that something is girls' clothes or boys' clothes, well, they don't come with a reproductive system. Amen? So what will change? My voice. It might go a tad higher. Pronouns, she, her.
Let's go to LA now, where protesters have been taking over roads and preventing people from getting to their flights. Just look at how much they care about ruining people's travel plans.
These are people's lives. You need to stop. That's my flight. I'm flying to Europe.
Earlier this week, I brought you a disturbing clip of Jim Acosta in conversation with Rosie O'Donnell. And I say disturbing, not just because of the wacky, delusional, downright loopy dialogue, but also because these two look far too much alike. And here is more of the same, more wacky, delusional, downright loopy dialogue between two lookalikes. This time, it's MSN Now anchor Rachel Maddow and soon-to-be unemployed late-night TV host Stephen Colbert. Listen as Maddow doubles down here on the Russian collusion hoax that she ran for years. She's not sorry for the lies and misinformation. She is back to pushing the same debunked narrative.
The whole Putin and Trump thing that was so weird for all those years, which a lot of us reported on a lot at the time and got a lot of hassle for it. I'm just saying, it kind of seems like that's now paid off with the Kremlin actually running U.S. foreign policy through the president's doofus Gulf friend.
Yep, she really just said the Kremlin is running U.S. foreign policy. Just when you think she's hit rock bottom, she finds a new low.
And now we apparently have been captured by the Kremlin and work for Vladimir Putin. They've got a kleptocratic, sclerotic government run by a guy who's never going to leave until he dies. The idea that we work for him, that we work for them, is so humiliating and is such an abject failure on the part of Trump in terms of his weakness. I don't know what Putin has on him, but he works for Putin, and it's an embarrassment to this country.
What can you say? Utterly unhinged, fact-free, divorced from reality, paranoid fantasies that Stephen Colbert did not push back on once, not one bit. Now, the Democrats and their propagandists are desperate to claim that America has committed war crimes by eliminating a narco boat and narco-terrorist drug runners who were trying to bring in huge amounts of deadly drugs into the country. And they're persisting with this daft narrative, even as the New York Times, yes, the Trump-deranged New York Times, debunks the Washington Post kill everybody hoax. That was a claim that War Secretary Pete Hegseth gave a kill everybody order. But we still have the likes of MS Now putting to air Democrat operatives like this next character, Leon Panetta. This is the man who ran the CIA under Barack Obama. That was during Barack's first term, when he was droning people left, right and centre, including Americans. This is the guy that MS Now put to air for this sober analysis.
There is no lawyer that I'm aware of who indicates that second strike is not a war crime. These were individuals in the water who were wounded. It is against the law to strike and kill those individuals. They did that. As far as I'm concerned, there is a war crime involved here, and it's for that reason that I think we need to hold people accountable.
And just to drive home how little credibility that character has, this is the same Leon Panetta who claimed with 50 other anti-Trump intelligence experts, they all claimed that Hunter Biden's laptop was a Russian plot, that it wasn't real. These characters deliberately influenced an election by putting their names to that outrageous lie.